Hello, I'm JCRev, and wow, it's been a little while. 2020 has been a pretty disastrous year so far. But one good thing that's happened is the release of Minecraft version 1.16, the Nether update. Now, I am in love with this update. The new biomes look great, I love the introduction of netherite, and damn, the soundtrack just got a hell of a lot better. However, as with every Minecraft update, it's not perfect. Not quite as flawed as 1.14, but still missing a few important features. So, I've compiled a list of the top 5 changes I think the Nether update still needs. Let's get right into it. So, the first problem isn't really one problem, but 3 small mob critiques that I thought I'd group together as one point in this video. First of all, the zombie pigman, or as it's now called, the zombified piglin. Hang on, zombified? That's right, for whatever reason Mojang decided to throw out naming consistency and use zombified rather than zombie, which is used for all other zombie versions of mobs. It seems odd to have this one outlier, and honestly, zombified just doesn't flow quite as well, so I think it makes more sense to just call them zombie piglins. The second mob tweak is, again, pretty minor, but one I think would be nice to see nonetheless. Striders are near perfect, and although I wasn't sold on them at first, I've come to love the little things. However, the way they bob up and down when you ride them makes them feel pretty uncomfortable to ride on. Sure, the wiggling is cute when they're wandering around, but at higher speeds it's just a bit odd. Finally for the mob tweaks, magma cubes. And also slime, but they aren't nether related, so shh. I think the idea was that when you kill them, they split into smaller versions. However, the smaller versions spawn in after the big one has disappeared, breaking the illusion. This could fairly easily be tweaked to make them more seamlessly split, and perhaps even reform into larger versions after some time has passed. Okay, now the mobs are out of the way, onto the bigger issues I think need to be addressed. Now, when 1.14 rolled around, I wasn't the biggest fan of all the new crafting blocks. Without going into that area of discussion, one new block that didn't yet have any functionality was the smithing table. The block looks great, and 1.16's new functionality is perfect. Using the smithing table as a way to upgrade items was nice to see, and I hope it gets more functionality in the future, as new tool variants are added. Sure, this feature could have been put into the anvil, but as the smithing table was already in the game, awaiting a reason to exist, I'm happy Mojang used it instead. However, this UI is very, very lazy. Like, stonecutter levels of lazy. It's just, put an item here, put an item there, there's the netherite tool. It's boring. While I think Minecraft could do with a UI overhaul in general, this empty, boring UI that is the key to unlocking the best gear in the game just feels lackluster. Why couldn't the process happen physically in the world? Where you place your diamond sword on the top, right click it with a netherite ingot, and then watch as it transforms into a weapon of hellish glory. That just feels like a much more fun, unique, and exciting mechanic that adds a bit of variety into the game. Look at this. Look at this ugly monstrosity. This right here is what inspired me to make this video. How, in the update that brought us glorious structures like these, did Nether Fortresses remain untouched? The way they look has stayed the same since they were added in the 1.0 full release of Minecraft. 9 years ago! That is ludicrous! The generation is so basic and definitely looks dated, and there's honestly no real reason to go there except nether wart and blazes. However, both of these are still pretty basic, just a small room or platform respectively. The loot is crap, and I've often experienced lots of chests having the exact same loot inside. down to the placement of the items. Now, they are called Nether Fortresses. That suggests that these structures need to be difficult to conquer, just like the Piglin Bastions, and that perhaps there should be something rare and unique that they hold deep within. Of course, blazers and wither skeletons serve as excellent defenders of the fortress, and their drops as worthy prizes, but Mojang could easily take that a step further. Hey, they even introduced new nether brick variants, one of which suggests the wither skeletons can have a deeper, more integral part to play in the lore and role of the Nether Fortresses. Speaking of nether loot, Crying Obsidian was finally reintroduced into the game, and man, this thing looks great. However, I think Mojang missed a trick with this block. Obsidian is integral to the Nether, and so to me, Crying Obsidian feels like it was meant to be some sort of super special item, a sort of Nether endgame reward. You could argue that the Nether style already fits this role, but the Wither isn't quite as strongly tied to the Nether as perhaps it should be, and beacons are pretty crap at the moment. However, I just think that Crying Obsidian should be treated more like a special reward than it currently is. Make it the ultimate prize of Bastion treasure rooms, as currently there isn't actually much of interest in those chests. Or perhaps introduce it as the reward for conquering fortresses. To coincide with its increased rarity, the crafting recipe for respawn anchors could be changed so that they only use one block. This may seem like a rather pointless change, but treating every block as this sort of special prize makes obtaining the block that much more fulfilling and rewarding. Rather than just stocking up on it, you have to track down a new one for everything you want to craft. Additionally, I'm a big fan of the idea of reintroducing nether reactor cores in some form, as they were actually pretty cool back in the day, and Crying Obsidian would be the perfect block to serve as the literal core to it. Oh, and finally, please let us put it in nether portals. Maybe only 4 blocks maximum per portal, but damn, integrating it into nether portals looks so good. And now for the final, biggest issue with the Nether. The very thing that 1.16 tried to fix, but ultimately still persists. The Nether is uninhabitable. 1.16 added plenty of new reasons to go into the Nether, and plenty of beautiful biomes for building in, yet they didn't give players a reason to stay there. In fact, the new Nether is far more dangerous than it used to be, which is a good thing, but unlike the overworld, there is no way to protect yourself from these dangers. For example, I adore the look of the basalt deltas. However, magma cubes are really difficult to fight and do a lot of damage, and the terrain makes ranged attacks far more tricky, so combating magma cubes is super tricky. So, no matter what you do, if you build in the basalt deltas, you will constantly be attacked, and most likely killed, by magma cubes. You also can't prevent mobs from spawning anywhere in the Nether without torch spam or building entirely out of slabs, so be prepared to have piglins shooting you in your nether houses. Ghasts are the worst. Their fireballs will destroy weaker blocks, spread fire everywhere, and basically destroy your house as soon as you exit your front door. In short, there's no good reason to live in the Nether, and doing so is very difficult, even though the respawn anchor makes it technically possible. I've heard suggestions for a block that calms ghasts, which I really like, but perhaps this should be expanded to all hostile mobs. Beacons seem like the logical answer to me, but I have a feeling that Mojang won't want to completely overhaul their purpose, so again, perhaps some very expensive Crying Obsidian based block could be the solution. As to a reason to live in the Nether, I haven't thought of that yet, but I'm sure Mojang could come up with something if they wanted. So there we go. There are some of the minor things I'd like to see, like the return of Mob D and a netherite scrap block. I love me some rust! But those things can wait for another time. Of course, I highly doubt that any of these will come into the game anytime soon, or that anyone from Mojang is watching, but hey, I like to chat and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see more, consider leaving a like or subscribing. follow me on my Twitter, and maybe check out some of my other videos. I've been JCRev. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in whatever I decide to upload next.